Welcome to the Weird Works podcast. I'm Dr. Christy, your host. Join us for conversations about alternative and sometimes controversial healthcare topics. This podcast will provide the evidence that you need in order to make informed decisions about your health, to empower you with the facts that you need to advocate for your health, and to encourage you that there is hope your body heals. Join us from experts from all things weird, as well as the testimonies of people with stories of radical healing who were once told that perhaps their condition was a death sentence, that they would just need to live with it, or that drugs and invasive surgery were the only answer. Let's get into agreement that if there is something natural and non-invasive that could be helpful, that it could be your first option rather than your last resort. All right, listeners, this is Dr. Christy, and you are listening to the Weird Works podcast. And today I have with me Amy Stone. And the reason I had her come on is because she is a patient. She's a crunchy mom, and she also makes the elderberry syrup that we have available in the office. So we have lots of fun topics to talk about today. But I'm going to pass the mic over to Amy and have her introduce herself. Amy, what I thought would be helpful to start with is just talk about kind of how did we meet each other? Like, how did you come to become a patient in that, and then we'll go from there.
So I met Charlie actually at a holistic event down in St. Augustine in Royal Golf Village. Yeah. And I had been looking for kind of more of a holistic functional medicine doctor. I, am, yes, a little bit more crunchy. Mm-hmm. And I have been doing that over the last 10 years or so, kind of changing, the way I think and how I do things. So that was my next step. And I met Charlie and I love her. And so I came in August of last year and I've been coming in ever since. And I've been bringing my kids for the last, I think 6 months now. So we have really improved and we love it.
So tell me I know you met Charlie, and that's a lot of times how people come in because Weird Works. Like, some people might have heard about some of this stuff or have an interest in it, but usually it's like their own health. Like, a lot of times moms, once you start raising children and become aware of some of the products that are out there, and also just wanting to kind of figure out things that you can do for your own health, that usually is a beginning point for a lot of people to dive in about alternative medicine. So was that the same like for your family?
Yes. So I started 10 years ago. My daughter's 10. She turned 10 in October. And since I had her, I've slowly, been learning new ways of doing things. I started with diet, what we eat, what's in our food, where our food comes from, how it affects your body, the nutrition content of it. And we've kind of just slowly developed from there. And then it went into what am I putting on my body? What am I putting in my body? Medicine, things like that.
That's kind of how it starts a lot of times, because it would be super overwhelming, right? If you had to change like your diet and what you eat and learning how to navigate like reading labels and your body care products and your household products. So in our office with patients, usually we start with the food and the diet and the nutrition. Is that kind of where you guys started too?
Yeah, we've slowly been doing the food for 10 years. This is, how I eat now is definitely not how I grew up. I grew up in a Southern family and everything was fried and full of butter and grease and, but I am learning now. And while I've been eating differently over the last decade, really over the last year, coming in here and learning from you guys, learning more about how to read labels, what's in your food, how each food affects everybody differently, because some people can eat something and be completely fine with it and some people can't, was a huge change for us. And it's been a huge change for me and how I feel, and as well as my kids.
So we are on a bunch of Facebook pages, and there's like Crunchy Moms of Jacksonville, and then I have friends who do what we do all across the country, and come to find out like there's Crunchy Moms groups all across the nation, which I think is awesome. But would you consider yourself a crunchy mom at this point? And if so, what does that mean?
Yes, I am a little bit crunchy. I do tend to go the more natural route on a lot of things. That's always my first go-to. I think there is a place and a time for Western medicine, but my go-to would be how can I fix it with diet, herbs, nutrition and supplements and things like that, rather than go to a prescription, which to me, that is crunchy. Everybody has a different idea of what crunchy means, but to me, that's kind of, I guess, quote unquote, crunchy.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Well, and crunchy too is that people want things that they can do in their own home. Like, kind of, how do you stock your own natural medicine cabinet? How do you have things on hand and not, like you said, wait until there's inevitable sickness and then, call on prescription medication or urgent care or something like that. So, more of a preventative mindset, I would say, like things that you can do until that point. Like, and there's a time and place. Like, we've said this on other podcast episodes as well, that we probably are all more, like, I don't have a medical doctor. I go to my colleagues if something goes wrong. I see one of my associates. We take care of each other because we know the power of food and diet and nutrition and supplementation and natural medicine. But that's my comfort level and my conviction level. People don't necessarily all start at that point. And so there really is a time and place for both. And so I wanted Amy to talk a little bit because she actually does have a career in not in traditional medicine. And so I wanted to have her talk a little bit of describing working in one world and living in another world. How do you kind of navigate that?
It's difficult, but to each their own. I make choices for myself and my family. You make choices for yours. So it's kind of based off, your comfort level and your choice for your life. But I do see a lot of patients that get a lot of prescription medication for really simple things that could be fixed or helped by diet. And, but the answer is just here's a prescription to help with that. But what I love about your practice is you get to the root cause. And I think that's where what I was looking for a long time. And when I found Charlie, I knew I was having some issues with things, and I had been to the traditional doctor, and it was always, here's this prescription or here's this medication, here, go get this test. And that never sat right with me because I knew it wasn't being fixed by this prescription, and this test wasn't telling me what was wrong. It was, here, let's put this Band-Aid on it. Yeah. And I wanted to know why, because I knew that was not normal for my body. So I wanted to know why this was going on. Yeah. I just didn't know how to get to that point, but you guys have helped.
Good. I love that. And that's important too, because if you don't know, so that's why we're screaming from the rooftops and doing podcasts and writing books and having educational courses, because alternative medicine doesn't have the budget of the pharmaceutical company, and so we can't buy up every billboard in your country and in your city, and overwhelm the TV commercials and the radio commercials and buy up ads and that kind of thing. And so a lot of it becomes word of mouth, but it's just knowledge, right? You can't, if you don't know, you can't do the things. So I love that description. So do you mind sharing any health problems that you yourself had or your kids have that have been helped by natural medicine, whether it was through Health by Design or home remedies or the elderberry syrup?
So what you will hear from me for my kids, my daughter suffers from anxiety, a lot of anxiety and things like that. So coming here specifically has helped tremendously with that. My son, when he came in, he was suffering from really low immune system, and viruses and things like that were really plaguing his body, parasites, overgrowth on yeast and things like that, which we have cleared up, and he is doing tremendously well. Me specifically, I suffered with a lot of stomach issues, gallbladder issues I've dealt with while being here, and threw Charlie for a loop a few times. But we have we really worked through it, got on supplements, got off supplements to really figure out what works for me and my body, and I am 100 times better. So I feel good. I have more energy. My anxiety's down. And I'm not having like gallbladder attacks like I was or things like that. So as far as the elderberry syrup goes, I think that I started that with my children a few years ago when the flu was really prevalent. It was going around rampant. It was a bad strain. Um, we all got it. We all got the flu. It was terrible. I was buying elderberry syrup from the store, and it was thick and it was nasty, and the kids hated it. And I, at that point, was, diving more into what is in the ingredients. What are the ingredients in the supplements that I'm giving my children? While elderberry syrup is natural, um, I'm getting this from the store. It's on the shelf. What's in here? Yes, right? Yeah. So when I read the ingredients, I was, unhappy with them. It's full of a lot of shelf stabilizers, a lot of thickeners, glucose, added sugar, sweeteners, um, and that's super counterproductive since elderberry syrup is supposed to boost your immune system and sugar inhibits your immune system. So I'm, like, why am I giving my kids this? So I am semi-do-it-yourself mom. So I was like, you know what? I'll try to make this myself. And I did. And it took me a few times to get, the recipe down and the ingredients right and what I wanted it in it and how I wanted it to taste. But my friends wanted it, family wanted it, and it kind of grew from there. But my favorite story about it is my son Landon, who suffered from allergies and was on countless allergy medicines. We rotated through Flonase, Claritin, Zyrtec, um, because every time he got a cold, he got a sinus infection. Um, and so when I chose to sweeten the elderberry syrup, I chose natural raw honey, local raw honey, which while I had heard had benefits of improving, seasonal allergies, I'd never witnessed it myself. Right. So after about 6 months of giving him elderberry syrup to boost his immune system regularly with the raw honey in it, he started to slowly come off all of his allergy medicine. Yeah, so it's been, 2.5 years now, but we are completely off all allergy medicine, and it's fantastic. So.
And that's a good point. It is counterproductive, a lot of the products. And so we even have had other elderberry products in our office. And because our patients know to limit their sugar and carbohydrate, what I was sharing with Amy is like a lot of them would take the little sample at the front desk and then they'd be like, oh, that's too sweet. I don't think I can have that on my current health program. And so we were in search of one that isn't sticky sweet. So even though it's called elderberry syrup, her product is it's very thin and light. It's not syrupy. Yeah, more like juice. Exactly. And we have sampled it out to children and people who told us that they previously didn't like elderberry and it's all taste approved. So we like that. So the other cool thing, I don't know if you guys can see it with the lighting, but it comes in this bottle, but then she also has these cool bags, and it's an elderberry syrup, like do-it-yourself kit. So if you ever want to try to make it, but what's cool is like you see these little pretty like star-shaped things and actual cinnamon sticks. So I'm going to have Amy talk a little bit about the ingredients and why they're in there and some of the health benefits. And also just tell us like what is the rage about elderberry, because it's in lozenges, it's in syrups, it's in everything, right? Like, is it just a marketing claim or is there really something to elderberry?
So there are studies that show while taking elderberry that it does cut the duration and the symptomology of the cold and flu in half. So yeah, I think that's great. But we personally take it as a preventative, so we take it daily, August through May when my kids are in school, because I would rather, keep their immune system boosted when they come in contact with the germs throughout school. Than rather, play catch up when they do catch something. But in our elderberry syrup, there is elderberries, Ceylon cinnamon, clove, ginger, star anise, fresh lemon juice, and then again, I sweeten it with the local raw honey. So elderberries, all the ingredients really in and of themselves have anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, antioxidants, all those properties in them, each ingredient. But specifically, elderberries are high in vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin B6. So elderberries have a protein in them called hemagglutinin, which actually inhibits the virus from entering the cell wall. So if it can't enter the cell wall, then it can't replicate, and then, your body can take care of it. I did Ceylon cinnamon, which is my other favorite ingredient in it, because Ceylon cinnamon helps with the blood sugar spike that you get from the honey. And while there's not a lot of honey in it, and honey in local raw honey has so many health benefits to it, you still want to balance that out with your body. Um, Clove actually helps your body expel mucus. So a lot of times with the common cold comes, inflammation and mucus. So that kind of helps your body kind of expel that a little bit easier. Um, Ginger, I love ginger. I don't know how you guys are, but I love ginger. It's great for your digestion, but it's good anti-inflammatory too. So
So that's why we love the elderberry syrup. I hope that makes a little bit more sense with some of the science, but it's very balanced. And I liked what Amy said specifically about preventative. And so, what we recommend is if you have a job where you are back to work and in buildings and around a lot of people, this is the holiday season. So travel, we always want patients to make sure that they are armed and dangerous and have all the things when they're traveling as well. Definitely kids if they're back to school and in the classrooms. And just if you tend to be like in contact, though, you're the person who needs to be on some kind of immune preventative during this entire season. Not just COVID, but this is also our natural cold and flu season. So yeah, I think this is an easy thing to just have in your fridge. And like in the mornings, what I do is it's just me and my husband. So like we don't get a teaspoon or a tablespoon out. We just take a swig and that's like our morning routine. So you guys can all have your own bottle if you don't want to share. Yeah, pour it in a little medicine cup and line up. Yep, shots. This is our Weird Works shot. Our natural flu shot. So where can patients find you? Is this only available locally?
So you can order through our website, which is momsorganicelderberries.com. You can obviously stop by Health by Design and pick up an 8-ounce bottle or the do-it-yourself kits you guys have too. You can find us in a few locations in St. Augustine. If you're down in St. Augustine, Live Alternative and Funky Town Fitness. But then we also ship to your door, and we are adding. I'm trying to add a local businesses and local pickup spots throughout the coming months. So.
And that's what this time of year we always suggest support local, support your small business owners. But this year especially, you could imagine that for Amy, this might be a side hustle, but for some local businesses, just a reminder that people have been hit pretty hard this season. So the more we can not just buy from Amazon, although it's super convenient, and chain franchise type stores and support local, this is an awesome way to do it. And I really think the little DIY kits would be a cool stocking stuffer or gift.
They're great too for, if you want more honey or less honey or a different kind of honey or a different kind of sweetener in and of itself. We do make a vegan option that's sweetened with agave, but also our kits ship easily. So I think to me, getting local honey to you. So if you live out of state or in another county, that's a good way to do it. You can get honey from a local beekeeper where you are and just add it to the kit.
That's a good point. I didn't think about all those additional points with the kits. At first I was like, why would I want the kit? She makes it. Like, let me just buy it. But it could be a fun project. People are getting some time off for the holidays, something to do with the family or the kids. I think everybody should try it at least once to make their own. Okay, so my final question, this is the Weird Works podcast, and so I'm going to put her on the spot and see what she says. What is something that your family does that other people think is weird? Can you think of like the one weirdest thing that you do that you guys think is normal and common sense being a crunchy mom, but other people are like, I just don't know. Is it coming here? Is it the muscle testing?
I do get a lot of questions about the muscle testing, and then the supplements. My family sees the supplements that we're on, and they're like, "Why are you guys taking all this?" Or I would say they've come around to the chiropractic care, but the Ionic foot baths. Yeah, I don't know if we have one for our house, and we do them. We've kind of slacked off right now, but they really help. They've really helped both of my children, kind of with detoxing and things like that. So I'd say that might be one of the weirdest ones, but
I love that. And the Ionic foot bath, if anybody doesn't know, it's a way to detox. So you put your feet in just a little bucket of warm water, and then the technology of the machine creates ions, and the ions help detoxify your body. So you guys know about this. Like after it rains and you go walking in the woods and it smells like really fresh, well, that's because of ions. And those ions is the Earth's natural way of detoxing the air and kind of cleaning up the environment. So when we use the same technology in the body, it helps. And the reason why we use the feet is because you have the largest pores on your feet. And so that's the easiest way to get the toxins out. And you guys kind of know that. Like when you sweat, you naturally detoxify. So the equipment in an ionic foot bath just accelerates that natural detox process through the pores of your skin. So that's what Amy's talking about. And we have them here, and you guys can go on the Facebook page, and we have people like check in all the time and like post pictures of their water, because the water turns all these gross colors and like bubbles up and everything as the toxins start to come out and accumulate in the water. So it's kind of a fun wow factor. Okay, so we're going to do a muscle testing demonstration because I think there's a lot of mystery surrounding that and how it works. And so Amy's versed in it. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so Amy is going to be our live muscle testing demonstration. So first I'm just going to show them what a muscle test is. So when she's standing here, I can push down on her arm, and when her arm stays straight like that, that's what we call the muscle lock. Okay? During the testing, all we do is put light pressure over the organs. So there's all these like acupuncture meridians that run on the surface of the body. And when I press on those, we either get a lock or what we call an unlock. And the unlock is either her arm will like wiggle around or go down completely. So we're going to show you her lock and unlock, and then I'll explain why pressing on areas cause the unlock. Okay, so while she's standing there, that's her lock. And then there's an on-off switch on the bridge of everybody's nose. So if you've ever had acupuncture, a lot of times they put a needle right there, and that's because it really kind of zens you out. It just kind of shuts down the whole nervous system so you can calm and heal. So when I press with one side of my finger, we get the lock. And then when I turn my finger over, we get the unlock. So we're going to do, I know, she's a patient. She's still
weird
like,
every time.
I know, it never gets boring around here. So this is her lock, and that's her unlock. And you guys can see that. And she is matching my pressure, giving me the same resistance. Okay? So then when we do the testing, we just apply light pressure over the organs, and we do that until we get to an area where there's an unlock. Do you remember where your primary organ is?
I think it's my large intestine.
Okay, so on hers, if we press long enough, it'll eventually go weak over her intestine. So she's on a program, so it's not, you're not going to go weak right away because you'll pulse to a 10. But that's an area where there's weakness. And then what we would do is find out if there's a remedy that handles it. I don't have the test kits in here either. Pause. Okay, so we found that her large intestine gave us an unlock when we went over that area. Okay, and so the next part is when you guys are in the office, you're going to see all these little test kits, which are sample bottles of the supplements, the whole food nutrition that we use. And so when I say whole food, I say that because whole food is living, has energy, and your body can sense the energy coming through the glass of these bottles. So this is actually an Enzicor, which is a product in her program. And when I have her hold that, I go back and touch the large intestine, and now we get that locked muscle. So that tells me that that is something that the large intestine can use to make it stronger. So the muscle is just an indicator. But if I give her something that isn't related to her intestine or isn't the exact right match for her body, when she holds that, we get the unlock.
Yeah.
See?
I'm trying.
She is trying. She's matching my pressure. So the muscle test, you can rest your arm, just gives us the exact right remedy for the patient. And that's what she was saying. Like, you know, there's all these diets and food restrictions and that kind of thing, but people don't know if it's necessarily the exact right advice for their family or their body or their kids. So this just helps us get to the exact answer right away, the root cause, and eliminates all the guesswork so that we don't have to do the trial and error and wait and see, which you could do with traditional medicine, or you could even do with your own DIY kind of a program of buying supplements, ordering things online, seeing if this works or that works or whatnot.
That's where I was before I came in here. Is like you read all this different stuff online and so many different things you can try, but you know, you need a little guidance.
I agree, and that is a theme that we see in the Crunchy Mom groups. Like, we'll pop in as a little, like, expert, like, to give some of the advice and all. But I think sometimes there's that misconception that by doing it yourself, you save money. It's cheaper to just do it. But if you're wasting time and you're not getting a result, and then suddenly you find like you've wasted months and months, you're not getting a result, and you've tried several things, you could have just come in and paid an expert to help you, guide you, and then follow the advice moving forward, because then you learn and you're doing the right things specific to your family or your body's own particular needs. So the only part I didn't explain was why when I press on the intestine. So luckily our bodies are a lot stronger than that. If we just walked around and touched on some area and somebody fell apart, that we would be really weak. But these are acupuncture meridians, and when I press on the large intestine, the arm sacrifices the circulation to your arm, to your extremity, in order to protect your gut, because your gut is a lot more important to your survival than your arm. And that's the same thing in hypothermia. So if there's already a weakening in the system, the body's divine um, build is to know that we need to bring more blood flow into the organs, to the gut, and it does that by stealing it from the arm. So that's a little bit of how it works. A little science behind it. So Amy, you've been an awesome guest. Thank you for joining us on the Weird Works podcast. This has been fun, and I think will speak a lot to our crunchy moms and anybody who's trying to find a solution themselves. We'll definitely put the link to your website and some of the places where you can find the elderberry syrup locally if you're in Jack's or online. Try those DIY kits. I think she pointed out a lot of good ideas of how they're good gifts, but I like the idea that you could find your own local honey or sweeten it with stevia or agave if you want it vegan or you want it like completely keto or something like that. And I'm Dr. Christy, and Good Health Naturally. Thanks for joining us.